Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I'm going to look at the markets this morning. I want to talk about an article I saw in Zero Hedge about a message that John Whitehead of the Rutherford Institute has for graduating college students this year. And it talks about when things fall apart, a graduation message for a dark age. And I also want to talk about what happened in '08 and in the wake of the crisis of '08 and what I think should have been done in regards to that crisis and why things are the way they are. It's just past 8:30 this morning. I'm going to look at the markets as usual. They're getting a little more interesting. Yesterday, the stock market was fairly firm early on, and then it just crept lower and lower and lower. And we saw the Dow actually drop 178 points, or almost 0.75%, which isn't much really. It seems like a lot because 178 points, but it's not even 1%. We're not getting those drops that we had earlier in the year, 700 points, 600, 500 points yet. S&P dropped only 1/3% yesterday, about 8 points. So the markets, again, we failed to stay above that 25,000 level in the Dow, which I've talked about, the technical level. So this morning, we've got gold up $1.50 at 1292.50. The range has been 1289 to 1296. So gold has kind of steadied. The ship's been steady. The precious metals ship. Silver is down 1.5 cents right now. It's at 1652. The range has been 1649 to 1660. So pretty narrow range. But the Dow right now is down another 0.5% or 124 points. The Dow futures. S&P is down 0.5% as well, or 12 points at 2712, and the Nasdaq 100 future is down 0.75% or 50 points. The interesting thing this morning we're seeing now is that the dollar is very strong against the pound and the euro, but is down 0.2% against the yen. So really unusual move here. Looks like the drop in the dollar yen is kind of neutralizing gold, because gold, the way the pound and the euro are down, gold should be down. So the pound is down 0.5% at 133.72. So I think we're going even further down. I made a few videos the last week or two how we broke some key technical levels in the pound, and I have 131 as a target. It could go even lower. The euro is down 0.2%, down 72 pips at 117.05. So FX market's pretty much on the move this morning. But the dollar, as I said, is down 0.2% or 74 pips against the yen. So at 110.15. So crude oil has come off a bit now. It's down 40 cents at 71.75 WTI crude. Excuse me, the 10-year yield has actually come off a little bit this morning. It's actually down 4 basis points at 302. So that's a 10-year yield. Does that mean that it's over, the spike in yields? No, markets don't move one way and forever. They do correct. I still think the trend is high for higher yields. What else? The CRB index, which I commented about yesterday, that measures commodities, that was up 0.25% yesterday to 206. So not much of a move on that, but still quite elevated. Excuse me. Cryptocurrencies have taken a hit overnight. If you look at World Coin Index, everything seems to be red, except for a very few tokens. Bitcoin is back below 8,000. Coin market cap right now is 350 billion, and Bitcoin dominance is fairly high, 38.5%. So quickly, I'll look at this article on Zero Hedge. When Things Fall Apart, a graduation message for a dark age for younger people, from John Whitehead. I'll put the link below in the description. I thought it was a good one, especially for young people watching, but not only, but for everyone really as well. And I'll read here from the article in Zero Hedge. And it's by John Whitehead from the Rutherford Institute. And it says, those coming of age today will face some of the greatest obstacles ever encountered by young people. In addition to being overtaxed and underemployed, they will also be forced to march in lockstep with a government that no longer exists to serve the people, but which demands they be obedient slaves or suffer the consequences. Yeah, there was a Supreme Court decision in the States a few years ago under the Obama administration that basically allowed corporations to donate unlimited amounts to political campaigns. And I don't remember the year that was, but not too long ago. And I thought at the time that's really bad, because in the States they limit political donations for individuals to a certain amount, but corporations now, the Supreme Court of the United States decided that corporations can give as much. And I think that's why the US and the rest of the world is in such a state. The corporations are in charge. So here are some of the advice that John Whitehead gives to young people, and I have to agree with him on most of them, or all of them. He says, be an individual, and he quotes John F. Kennedy warning, conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth. Worry less about fitting in with the rest of the world. March to the beat of your conscience. Agree. That goes right to my contrarian view philosophy. Learn your rights. He advises people to grab a constitution, look at the Bill of Rights. I agree, for the US. Even in the UK, we don't have a constitution, but the UK in the UK, people are not citizens; they're subjects. Unfortunately, they have sovereign rights as well, but those have been also usurped. Speak truth to power. Don't be naive about those in position of authority. Yeah, don't trust politicians and people who call themselves experts. Do your own homework. Don't take anything for granted. Don't, just because someone says this is so, some central bankers come to mind, Keynesian economists. Resist all things that numb you. Yeah, I guess mainstream culture, I guess, a little bit. I'm not saying you have to be a hermit. Don't let technology turn you into zombies. I guess we all fall prey to that. He says techno gadgets are merely distractions, and what's really going on in America and around the world. If you're going to make a difference in the world, you're going to have to pull the earbuds out and pull off the cell phones and spend much less time viewing screens. I agree with him. I'm not, but I still, I'm looking at a screen here, reading his stuff. So, yeah, not completely, of course, but don't let it be the only thing you do, of course. Help others. I couldn't agree more. That's what I try to do a little bit through my videos. Try to give people, if they want to listen to me. I'm not the owner of the whole truth. I'm not perfect, but I can see when things are kind of wrong, I guess. Give voice to moral outrage. He says, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, and I quote, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. Of course. And that's why I always go on about central banking and the corrupt monetary system we have. And I'll come to that in a minute when I talk about the '08 crisis. The other one, cultivate spirituality, reject materialism, put people first. Not bad, I guess. Yeah, of course we do need things to survive, and we do like material things, but also don't make it the end all. And that message goes to people, young people, maybe in the crypto space who make a lot of money and say, "Oh, I'm going to buy a Lambo," or things like that. That's not important. A Lambo is not important, or a Lamborghini. The important thing is that you have a good living, and that you protect your wealth. By buying a Lamborghini, you're not going to do that. You're going to look good, but it's silly, in my opinion. You can buy a Lamborghini, go ahead. But I'm just saying it's not the most important thing. I saw a video yesterday, a guy who bought a Lamborghini last year, he just sold it. And he's put his money into EOS. So and he's a young guy. Pitch in and do your part to make the world a better place. I couldn't agree more. That's what I try to do with my videos, and that's what I recommend anyone to do. Say no to war as well is his final advice. Again, I agree. War is only a way to divide people, to keep the game of divide and conquer going, to keep the elites in power. It's a way to make the corporations even wealthier. If you look at War is a Racket by Brigadier General Smedley Butler, he gives all the data there before World War One, how much these corporations were making. And during and after World War One, their profits went up 10 times or 5 times or even more. Finally, prepare yourselves for what lies ahead. So yeah, I mean, what lies ahead we don't know, but it's not going to be smooth sailing or smooth, or Admiral Sea as they call it, like very it's going to be rough sailing. So with that, I'll go back to '08. And yeah, the crisis of '08, we should have let the whole system implode, the banks collapse, Wall Street, the city of London, Frankfurt, Paris, all the big banks. And what would have been the consequences? Well, the consequences would have been that we probably have had utter mayhem. I think someone warned about martial law. I think it was Hank Paulson, the treasurer of this Secretary of the Treasury, when because the TARP vote was initially voted down in Congress, and he warned if this doesn't go through, we're going to have martial law. It's going to be riots, and that probably would have been, and it probably would have been a really rough period. But the people who made the mistakes, and it wasn't just Wall Street and the City of London or the governments or central banks, it was the people also who played the game. The people who bought the 5 condos in Florida and with no money down and had all these mortgages. And these people should have been punished, and the people who over leveraged as well. But I know a lot of people were punished by the crisis, but what I'm saying is that they should have done in Iceland. Iceland did it. A lot of people argue Iceland is small, only 300,000 people, but I don't think it matters, the numbers. The numbers don't matter. So yeah, that's what I said at the time, that it's basically what it was. By bailing, and how did they bail out the system? Well, by indebting the average person even more. The people who who weren't reckless, the people who were frugal, the people who worked, who were careful, who didn't leverage themselves, they've been lumbered with huge amounts of debt. And even the young people who back then were not even adults, they've been lumbered with all the debt now, to bail out people who were reckless, who didn't deserve to have been saved. So and that's why when I listen to mainstream media, when I listen to mainstream economists, mainstream the banks and Wall Street talking about what's happening and what should be done, I kind of have no respect for them, because they shouldn't even be in business. Because they were bailed out, and now they're reaping reaping the benefits of that bailout by privatizing all the profits. And when they lose again, someone else is going to be holding the bag for them. And that's why it was such a bad thing. There's a lot of people who talk about, oh, I don't agree with all the QE. I do agree, though, that they should have done it a little bit in the beginning. To those people, I also say, boo. They should have never done QE. They should have let just the whole system go under. It was a monetary problem, a money problem. It wasn't a physical world problem. Nothing would have happened to the real economy. Yes, things would have slowed down. It would have been hard, but I'm sure we could have reset everything back again. But then the politicians, the bankers, the hangers-on, the elite would have lost a lot of power. So that's what really happened in 08, in my opinion. So if you enjoyed this video and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Give me a thumbs up as well. You can follow me also on Steemit, DTube, and on Twitter. And if you'd like to make a donation as well, I've got links below in the description. And I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.